The Spin-off Podcast Network.
This is Kiwi is back for a brand new season with more inspiring kōrero from special guests including rugby player, father and role model TJ Perenara.
My family bring me joy. Rugby brings me joy too, but it's not the same joy as my family brings me.
And global dancer and choreographer Kirsten Dodgen.
For some reason, people think I'm very intimidating.
Listen to the new season of This is Kiwi, brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network in collaboration with KiwiBank. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Kia ora, I'm Alex Casey, senior writer at The Spin-off. We wouldn't exist without the ongoing support of our generous members. If you're able to, you can make a donation at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
Welcome to the Real Pod. Oh, it's Real Recap. I'm getting my pods confused. Welcome to the Real Pod's Real Recap. We recap Celebrity Treasure Island every week. It's me, Jane Yee, joined by Alex Casey and Duncan Grieve. Hello.
Hello. The whole gang is back together.
And we are standing up.
I have nowhere to sit in this tiny apartment, and I'm just sick of having a sore back, so I've just started standing constantly. We'll see how I go.
I love it. You will have probably heard, if you listened to yesterday's episode of The Real Pod, you would have heard us talking about standing up to podcast. It's a thing. We're trying to make it happen. Anyway, but let's talk about Celebrity Treasure Island, shall we? We're up to week 3. Is that correct? I don't know. I feel like I
don't even know what month it is, Jane.
There's no time on the island. Did you know that, Alex? Did you listen to our podcast last week? We found out some inside goss.
I didn't listen. I don't like listening when I'm not there. It makes me feel like you're at your own funeral or something.
Well, we found out that there's not, when they arrived on the island, all their bags were ransacked and anything that was not allowed was taken out, including watches. So they had no concept of time, much like being at the casino.
That's so interesting. I also had some, you might have covered this and forgive me, but clarification from somebody that they don't get. What you see is what it is. There is no special celebrity treatment. There is no extra food. There is no bougie hotel.
No, there's not. But there is. They do have portaloos, so the poo cave is a backup option, so to speak.
Fake news. I would honestly use the poo cave anyway. I hate a portaloo.
Oh, portaloo's horrible.
Go back to nature.
There's 4 people in this house and we need 2 toilets, I'm just saying. So one portaloo for 2 camps of 8 people or whatever it is. It's not enough. You need a poo cave.
I think the domestic version of a poo cave, I read the Weekend Herald print edition over the weekend, and on page 7 or 8, there's one of those, you know when you see an advertisement that feels like it's been beamed in from another time? And this was basically, I can't remember the exact phrasing. It was basically go to the toilet the way the stars do. And it was basically about a bidet conversion for your toilet. And it's just, and it goes really hard on, there's this crazy secret that they try and keep in Hollywood. And it's never use toilet paper again. That was the sort of the stand first. It was never, that's just finished. It's over.
I have a question. I have a question about that though. How do you dry off? How do you dry off?
Doesn't it have a little blower on it? Or no?
Do they all, so. Or are they different? They're kind of different versions, and one's just got the basic wood jet.
He's nodding. He's got some bidet intel.
I have used a bidet in China before, and it had a really powerful fan on it, and it susses you out. It's full service.
Wow, that's crazy.
That is great to know.
I always knew you were one of the stars.
I'm keen for the bidet. I'm keen for the bidet revolution. I've got a blockage issue here. Anyway, it's nothing to do with Celebrity Treasure Island. We've got to stay on track. Otherwise, it's just going to turn into another Real Pod regular podcast where we talk about poo a lot. Already has within the first 5 minutes. Okay, so. We're on to week 3. Things are really shaken up in episode 7, which was the first episode of the week. For a start, Joe's wearing the same undies he's been wearing the whole entire time that he's been on the island. Even though
it
it's not an
doesn't
island, we're
seem
going to
like
refer to it as an island.
he doesn't need to do that, right? Like, they've got a change of clothes. Surely.
Well, maybe he just, like, right from the get-go was like, what's the point? They're all going to be super dirty real soon. May as well just not get changed. Maybe he doesn't want to have to, like, run off to the bushes and be discreet. It means he just can just get changed right there in front of everyone because then he'll take off his undies.
I mean, there's a lot of advantages. Like, I feel like a lot of the challenges involve some kind of physical proximity, and if you just sort of like aggressively fail to wash, that's that's not going to make people, like, you've got a natural barrier. I also think if you're swimming every day, there's some kind of natural antibacterial thing that comes out of that.
I don't know.
Basically,
It's called thrush for some people.
I would have thought it was horrible, but then as soon as he said it, I thought it was fine.
I mean, the other question to ask is you don't actually have to tell anyone, right? I don't think he's the only person who's been wearing the same undies the whole time. He's just the only one who said anything about it. Anyway, it all came out later on, didn't it? When they won a laundry challenge, they got to get their laundry done, and suddenly everyone was fessing up about how gross their guts were. But let's move on, first of all, to the charity challenge, which was a blindfolded musical chairs. Duncan, how are your feelings on the charity challenges? Because you're just, like, not a big fan of these challenges last week.
I still really don't like them. This one I watched and was actually good, but I skipped most of the other two. So I'll leave it to you. But my only commentary is that as I was watching it this time round, I was like, it must be really intense to be the host of Celebrity Treasure Island, because normally when you're the host, it's just civilians, and they are, you've got a natural amount of magnetism and sort of authority that comes with the role. But when you're, like, the host of Celebrity Treasure Island, you're having to bring all that to a group of people who, some of whom are heaps more famous than you. And I feel like I think we really need to acknowledge the work of Matt and Brie, because they bring it. And that's just a way harder gig than the average reality gig, in my opinion. Anyway, I'll leave it with you.
I think Brie in particular, because she, especially in these charity challenges that she runs, is actually quite involved in them. Like, she is often part of making the challenge happen, whether it be sticking one of those things in your mouth where you have to talk funny, or, like, Chizzo's more of a godlike figure. He turns up and he kind of gives some instructions and throws out some great quotes. Whereas Brie, she's in there. Like, she could be a celebrity on her own show next time, She could be host and team member.
I feel like Chisholm just drops you in, like, takes it so seriously, right? And it's just like, we're in this, and I am screaming at all of you all the time. I also would just like to shout out the rate at which Matt Chisholm has tanned on this program.
Yeah.
Sensational.
Would you call it a tan? Would you call it a tan by this point?
What would you call it?
Like a deep burn.
We are waiting for the eyes, of course. The big eyes moment is going to be coming soon.
Totally. And art was burned early on, like, acknowledged it. It feels like all reality TV is going to have, like, a kind of a Worksafe moment, because we had the block with, like, multiple head injuries. That's where you've just got humans getting sort of third-degree burns from catching exposure. I think we're starting to sort of see the beginnings of an issue emerging.
The thing is, though, that the bonus of being cooked alive is when you get to the point where you're really hungry and the food's run out and you decide you're just going to start eating each other, already cooked, pre-cooked, parboiled.
It's bacon. I don't know what bacon is.
Saves on cooking time. Anyway, Jess won that blindfolded musical chairs. Definitely a setup. They all seem to go, they could see, I'm sure of it. Like, there was quite, what direction are you going in? They all seem to go straight for a chair somewhere. So I don't buy it. Right, where are we? Oh, the teams are bloody splitting. No, they're merging. Well, they're kind of splitting and merging all at the same time. We go from 3 teams to 2 teams, and we're down to Katipo and Repo because Honu had hardly any members left, right? So they're just like, you're gone. Green's out of here.
Dissolved.
Also, bad chemistry. They were never meant to be.
I kind of loved it, though.
I did too.
I'm obsessed with Buck Shelford this week. just like propped up like Weekend at Bernie's, like kind of furious, confused, botching all the challenges, like rugby icon.
Seemingly, he's just so bad at all these terrible, at all these made up sports. I mean, the whole show, like, I don't know whether it was just, like, being really deep into lockdown now, but just watching the show every so often, I would just, like, have these, like, moments of clarity and be like, what is this? Like, it's watching, like, a whole bunch of people, some of whom are naturally talented, but none of whom have played this game before. So they're all, like, bad at it. And then the game is totally made up. Like, so no one's ever even played it before. And then, like... It's like the human centipede. They're just like...
It is nothing like the human centipede.
I'm sorry, you've got three people chained together in formation. You know, like, it's a lot like the human centipede.
It's about as close as you can get.
Yeah.
Brindley said she went so far up Buck's ass that she saw the North Pole, which is actually like beyond the human centipede, you know?
I thought you meant the whole thing was like the human centipede. I didn't realise you were referencing that specific challenge, which of course was literally the human centipede with some netball. Okay, so anyway, here's how the teams played out. Katapo, you've got Lana, the only remaining Katapo member who actually ended up in Katapo. Art, Anna, Tegan, Tammy, Jess, Richie and Angela. In purple, Repo, you've got JJ, Lance, Chris, Buck, Edna, Kim, Joe, Candy, and Brinley. Which team would you rather be in?
I want to be in Brinley's team.
I always want, yeah, me too. Duncan?
They're both really great teams, but I think where the balance of Katapo went is probably where the good vibes are, especially after, well, don't want to give the game away, but after Richie's fatal error, I think the vibes are going to be quite pungent.
I also loved the public eggs, the painted eggs that decided their fate.
I'm sorry,
intriguing to
can
me.
you say that sentence again? You loved the public egg.
I did, as someone who struggles with egg, but it was almost like it was an alien egg, wasn't it? So it wasn't as freaky. I've got some bad eggs later I want to talk about. But the eggs that were filled with paint that they smashed on themselves, I thought it was great. I thought it was a great reveal. Kimberly Crossman struggled.
She did. When they
deal.
said they were going to be smashing eggs on them, I thought it was going to be that one where some of them are cooked and some of them aren't. And then I was just like, can you imagine if you ended up with raw egg on you, baking on you? Like, that shit strips paint. For some reason, my old house got egged twice while I was living in it.
For some reason.
First time's just hooligans. Second time's a targeted attack, right? And that stuff is really, really hard to get off, which is why they do it. Like, that's why it's such a bad thing to do to people, to egg their houses or cars or whatever. Because it's I don't know, it's like chemically destructive. And that would be gross. That would be gross on the island.
But on your skin, you know, if we're leading into your cannibal sort of mentality, it's a bit like human French toast.
It is a bit. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Oh, God. Okay, then they had to basically do the team face-off in their new teams. And this is the one that you're talking about, the human centipede style one. And who won? Not Buck.
I don't know.
Not
Buck.
I mean, it was just watching like a lot of former athletes be really like quite profoundly bad at what should be a relatively elementary athletic pursuit. Is, you know, again, it's odd television. I enjoy it, but it's if you were trying to explain what you were doing to someone who's not familiar with the genre or this bizarre culture, they'd downgrade their assessment of you pretty fast.
What about what Richie has done for the V-neck T-shirt? Because bright orange, extraordinarily tight V-neck with like a little necktie, and he's rocking it. And I think V-necks are back, and I think we've got Richie to thank. I'm obsessed with Richie.
I am really fucked off by the merge in that you know how much I was relying on the leaders, legends, and jokers titles to be able to, you know, organise where people were in teams. Now that's just been completely thrown out, and now I'm having to reorganise my brain, aided by the fact that most of Katapo have gone into repo. So I can kind of just go, Lana's the only one who stayed. So I've kind of bunched all those guys together. That's fine. Where I really come unstuck is that they haven't managed to sort out their clothing situation yet. So some of them are still wearing little bits of old colours and it's messing with me. I just want production to walk in there with some fucking AS colour T-shirts, give them to them, and it's going to make life a lot easier for me.
I like the little peak of personality you get, though, like randomly Ange Bloomfield, just like big old Pink Floyd singlet out of nowhere, you know? It's interesting. It's intriguing. It's no colours.
I think it would be fun if they were given vivids and were able to design their own T-shirts, you know? Bring their own personality to their T-shirts. Just do our own little Pink Floyd logo on there.
That could be a charity challenge to come, Jane. We just don't know.
Captain's test involved some skulls and some dice and some lying. I don't like these captain's tests. I prefer the charity challenges. They're no fun.
They're quite boring.
They are.
I think I like them more than the charity challenges, weirdly, but not as much as Human Centipede.
It's just
Human Centipede's number one.
it is quite funny how much of the show is quite boring, and yet it's still fundamentally a really entertaining show somehow. Like it's almost like in spite of its structure, and it's a perfect lockdown show. I don't really know what's going on with it, but I like it.
Richie won the captain's test. He pulled out some sweet moves after he won too, some real sweet dance moves. And then that meant that Katapo won the opportunity. Richie's in Katapo? Oh, I'm so confused. He's always wearing green. He's in Katapo, right? They won the opportunity to vote in Repo's next captain vote, whenever that may be. Moving on to the next episode, Battle Braids. Is that a thing?
Yeah, I want it. I want it a lot.
It feels very like when women's MMA fighting, or just then you often see it because I think it protects you. Like it's just harder to grab a hold of your vulnerability, your hair, and it does look
also
super
keeps it out of your eyes really effectively as well.
It also ensures that you just like burn as much of your scalp as possible.
That's one of the aims of the show.
So the thing here is that Lana's all in on the battle braids, having kind of said to camera, or perhaps even to her teammates in the previous episode, that she was going to stay loyal to her Katapo mates. Pretty hard to do that when it's only you, you know? It's just you and Angela and Munter and, you know?
Yeah. And also funny, like the ultimate betrayal is a new hairstyle.
I mean, it is though. Let's be real. I posted an Instagram of me feeling sick on my couch yesterday, and someone slid into my DMs and was like, oh, your forehead, I really like your fringe. So they felt betrayed by the fact that my fringe was pinned back.
But block, I reckon, for that kind of behaviour.
What I did actually, though, was cry. I cried.
And send a video of that to them. Just look what you made me do. What about the sort of Tammy penis stuff? I thought that was quite risque for a 7:30 p.m. show.
Yeah, what was all that about? I kind of tuned out, and then
Did it come out?
It didn't come out, but he acknowledged going commando, and he's wearing some very thin and filmy nylon shorts, and he was very much swinging it around, and it was extremely visible peen. More so than you would. You could just see the whole contours, you know. And they were. It was a tight crotch shot, and they sustained it for quite a spell. And it was just more than you normally see at that time of the evening for the family show.
How much of this can be attributed to? Please tell me that is not your penis in terms of like starting a national conversation. Because I thought that it was like there was something in. I didn't realize they were just filming it just because it was like, oh, you can see his dick. Like, that's really risque.
Who was swinging it? They were talking about it. You know, it was. It was a moment.
I'm imagining an alternative version of the show where Michael Galvin is there and he gets to deliver his line.
Wow.
Like, wouldn't that have been just the best TV? Second only to the original penis moment.
Well, I think it would have built upon the penis legend.
The brand.
It's because they clearly have this thing where they just pick one of a type and try and get them on the show. So, like, you had, was it Gary Freeman last year and Richie Barnett this year? That's your Kiwis league captain and so on. But I feel like having two of them, like if you'd had Chris and Rachel, it would have been like unbelievable, and they should maybe consider that for next time.
Totally. Or just a whole, a whole Shortland Street special. Or just keep Celebrity Treasure Island always going and just having chunks of seasons there, like 3 seasons a year.
That would be their Bachelor in Paradise, would be just like a pure Shortland Street. This is a great idea, Jane. Copyright spin-off.
Thank you.
I would also like to say I think they should, Lionel should just wash up on the beach after all these years.
There'd be so many amazing Easter eggs you could do.
All castawayed out. Just like...
Yeah. Just rocks up on the back of a turtle like Jack Sparrow.
Man, this is good.
There was that weird Line of Whispers kind of charity challenge, which I didn't really...
Mark was so bad at this one as well.
I know. He just missed out half of the sentence in the middle. They must have been able to hear something. They're listening to the Venga Boys. They've got noise-cancelling headphones over the top, and then they're basically trying to repeat a sentence down the line. Chris won this, didn't he? I think Chris won this. Anyway.
I think so, because then they had that kind of tie break where I found out that a national animal of Scotland is a unicorn.
Yeah.
Did everyone know this? I feel like we should be talking about that every day.
It's quite bold.
It's really bold, because I said as a joke, I was like, oh, Nessie, lol. And then it was basically just as stupid as Nessie.
Arguably stupider, because Nessie, no one really knows.
I reckon the jury's out for sure.
But also, Nessie is uniquely Scottish, right?
Yes.
The unicorn isn't. The unicorn's a universal animal, isn't it? Oh. You find one in any country. You should be ashamed, though, having such strong Scottish heritage. You should be ashamed you didn't know that.
I feel shocked. Need to look further with him.
Okay. Where are we? Right. Angela's really out to start smashing out the patriarchy, by the way, this week. Munt is onto her, but that's fine because he doesn't stick around for too long. God, she's good. Anyway, Art at one point is making clothing with his trusty knife again, and someone pulls out, where's the bloody cha-cha challenge? Which is true. Where is the cha-cha challenge?
What's the cha-cha challenge?
Well, because they're talking about, Candy, what Candy can bring to the table.
I felt so bad for Candy in this episode.
I nearly cried.
I was
Candy.
crying. In that bit where she keeps saying, I think I could shoot, and everyone just ignored her.
It
made
awful.
Me feel sick. I was filled with rage
and then,
at the rest of the team.
Yeah, and then when Lance put her up later on, it just felt like the ultimate, get this old hag off the show. Just quite infuriating. It made me think that ageism might be a thing.
Yeah, and then she bloody won that challenge, didn't she?
Which was so cool.
A redemption. It was
she
so
was so
cool.
good at the maths. I was very impressed.
I was so bad at the maths. I need to show you. Oh, it's on my phone. I was watching it with my bubble buddy Zoe, and we both had a piece of paper and a Sharpie, hunched over trying to figure out what 90 times 25 was for no shit, 15 minutes.
Okay,
really?
I did the same thing, but without a piece of paper. I was trying to do it in my head because I was like, there's no piece of paper on the beach.
Well, they were writing in the sand, yeah.
Every time there's a challenge, I'm basically doing somersaults in my head to figure out how I would go in that challenge. I think I would have done good in that challenge, and I think I'd have done good in the one that Brindley won as well with the puzzle balls and the balance. I do, again, I fancy myself as being able to balance a ball on a paddle, which is probably the number one skill to have going into Celebrity Treasure Island, right? If you can balance a ball on a paddle, that's everything. Anna Simsick is a fucking medal-winning swimmer.
Who's also slower than Chris Parker at swimming.
Slower than Chris Parker.
Proven on
Chris
multiple
Parker. But, everyone's going on about athletic ability. Forget that. Balance a ball on a paddle. It's all you need to practice. Okay? Should we just move on to the next episode? Candy won. Munta went home. Tegan
needs a medic.
She needs a medic.
Did she get booted?
She got, she had, she's got a broken toe. She never came back to the island.
The other wild thing was that right at the end, like after Candy had her amazing redemption, and they had a Nick tomorrow on Celebrity Treasure Island, her lighting into them, and it's like, oh shit, that's going to be amazing. And then the next day they had like a previously on Celebrity Treasure Island, but then they never showed it in the episode. It's like it was the Flash one. It was such good TV, and it only existed in this weird like liminal space between the episodes. I don't know what happened there with the edit, because that previous episode was so good. It was such a good edit.
Yeah.
Like the Kim versus Edna stuff was wicked. The Ange versus Tammy stuff was wicked. It was real. It was a brilliant episode. But then right at the end, they inexplicably botched the best kind of like super tense standoff of the whole thing, and it only exists in the bookends. Sorry, I just made me really wild.
No, I noticed that too. And the thing that I'm concerned about is I remember in the promo, the big teaser trailer for the whole series, there's a bit where Edna says about putting words in her mouth, and Candy's like, your mouth isn't big enough for my words or something. I feel like that maybe happened in that exchange and we didn't see it.
Because she said, you can't speak for me, I'm speaking for myself. Does feel like it was part of that.
Yeah. Well, I do wonder if maybe the trailer got released and then perhaps Edna or Candy took issue with what appeared in that trailer and then the show got a wee re-edit. I don't know. It may still yet be to come because Candy and Edna are both still in the game. So maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself there. But yes, you're right. I really wanted to see that tension between those two. I love that Candy knew that she wasn't the one that everyone had put forward. And so she knew she'd been thrown under the bus by Lance. Yeah.
Lance has got his fingers in a lot of pies.
He does.
He's like, everyone loves him, but he's also like real tight, well, with Art, rest in peace, and Chris, and like, I feel like he's got this little alliances going with everybody, and he's a little sly guy.
Yeah.
He's a little sly guy.
Who are your picks to to win at this point? Just quick interlude.
I think Chris Parker's going to do very, very well.
I think Chris and Brinley are very strong.
I think Richie, Bryn, and I kind of love Candy now. Like she's got a bit of a mad dog.
I fucking love Candy.
I would love it. If Candy won, it would just be the best thing to ever happen in New Zealand reality television. I am obsessed with it.
I really love how Ange is trying to get 3 Wahine in the final. I think that is like a great goal to have, especially considering, when they cut back to last year's final, it was just like 3 white blokes.
They're 3 musketeers.
Her only mission is to get 3 women into the final, and
it's so good.
I'm all about that.
It's so funny watching when they cut back to it. You're like, wow, like the intellectual horsepower of this year. No disrespect to that power trio, a lot of brawn, but the brain, just nothing. This year, there's some like good schemers, but that's amazing that was the 3 who we ended up with.
I can't believe you're disrespecting the Wiz like that. The Wiz in the finale was one of the great things. Just like running around with a backpack, being like, fuck, like no idea where he's going, doesn't understand any of the clues. Sam is like digging up the treasure and like he's just running around in the background so lost. It was amazing.
Okay, again, the final episode, the one that aired just tonight, was it had a massive result at the end of it, didn't it? It was just huge game changer. But we start off with a charity challenge, which was some weird twerking and tea spilling thing. Where old table head Richie. I mean, he is a challenge machine, right?
He's so good. He's so zen.
Yeah.
I love his energy. Oh.
His energy.
Love him. His energy. His Z energy in the bulletin.
Lovely. That's a bit of cross promo there. Sign up to the bulletin.
It's something, isn't it?
There's a lovely bromance brewing between Art and Richie. Not long for this world. But it's like Lance is dead to Art, They promised each other as they split ways that they would watch each other's back. Watch each other's back? It's not right. They would have each other's backs. And then Art just immediately decided that Richie was his best mate. Richie was less enthused about Art, as we'll see later on. But it still seemed like 2 men on the same page of just basically being perfect. the team face-off this week was a puzzle rebuild. And they had to throw balls at bricks. Someone was blindfolded, and that blindfolded person then had to reassemble the puzzle. Thoughts
I
on
loved
this
Art
challenge?
figuring out this challenge where he's like, I love throwing things.
Yep.
Just loves to throw things. And then was like, I figured out what I need to do. I need to throw as hard as I can. It was like, how was that ever not what you were going to be doing?
But the best part is he was like, I figured out pretty early on that I need to throw really hard.
I loved it.
So when Lana did that great little speech about Art where, he sort of fell down the tree and hit every branch along the way, like great looking, great body, lovely guy, really smart. Like, I think Art is amazing, but I do wonder about whether he's got a little bit of the bubble boy thing of, he's absolutely intelligent, but he doesn't outperform on intelligence the same way he does on all the other metrics, but because you just look at him and everything he says just seems so extraordinary, it kind of comes off as like what you just said, Alex, like, that wasn't actually some tactical genius. That was the most obvious thing in the world. And yet he said it as if it was this extraordinary piercing insight that won them the game.
It's crazy, though, because despite all these amazing facets to his personality, yet somehow still altogether he is greater than the sum of his parts. Pun. Which got like merely a snigger from Duncan on that. Parts. Secondly, though, like imagine having
I thought you
all
were
those
glitching
great...
out.
No, I wasn't. I was being funny. All those amazing elements of yourself, and yet still just being bigger than all of that once it's all put together. Not fair, for a start. Secondly, didn't work in his favour in the end, did it?
But even then, even in defeat, so gracious. God.
Oh, so gracious. So gracious.
I think we also, not to be too inside baseball, but I think he is extremely familiar at this point with the Warner Brothers crew, which
True.
I think is why he's so good on camera and has made so much of the edit as well.
That's such a great point, because when he was first on the hosting side in, was it Bachelorette season one? When did we first see him as a host?
The Bachelorette.
Just this last one.
Yeah.
He was like kind of ropey at times, quite wooden, and now he's just unbelievably natural.
He's
at
on
all
fire.
times.
And, he's been working with them since 2015 now.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
As
You'd
long
expect
as
to get
this-
fitter.
We will know as long as this pod has existed, Art Green has existed as a public figure.
I don't know. I would love to
Amazing.
know everything about pre-fame Art Green. Like, how did he somehow not be iconic and famous until that point? Because he always had all that going on. Like, it just seems weird that there weren't just like hordes of people just following him around everywhere, just gazing upon him.
That's a very valid point.
The
Someone needs
one
to
that,
investigate that.
just to fast forward to the end, look, let's just talk about what Richie did to Art and how intentional it was. Like, we all believe that he put Art up pretending like it was an easy win, but sort of knowing that it was actually quite a tough old gig for Art, and Brindley was really good. We'd already seen her smash that before, right? He basically just knifed him. And I think he was filled with regret afterwards. Like, the regret was genuine, but he also just wants to win so badly that he just knows he has to do some real shady stuff. Is that the thesis?
Yeah, and I think he made a mistake. I think it was way too early to make a bold move like that. I think he should have.
I don't know.
I think he should have. No, because now the girls are just going to get rid of him because I don't trust him. And I think he's toast.
Yeah, but I reckon that there's a chance that teams will change and move and merge, and they also need him as well. At this point, he's kind of he's the brawn of the team. And as much as everyone wants to prove that you don't need to just be brawn, again, it's too early to lose all of it. You could lose Art or Richie, but not lose them both.
Well,
And
also,
I just think it was a genius move.
How do you get rid of him? Like, Richie's really, really good at those games. Like,
And he's the captain.
He's a captain for now, which will obviously insulate him for a period of time. But even after that, like, you have to lose to go. And he's just very, very good at all the games. So I think it was a kind of a genius move because he has a little bit of plausible deniability in terms of what he did. I don't think anyone really buys it, but it's sort of semi there. And it really does clear out the lane in terms of the really, really amazing super fit athlete guy. It's basically him and Lance now on that one.
I am totally aware that, you know, it may seem like it was too soon, but there also may not have been another opportunity for Richie to do this and get rid of Art. So in my mind, I think it was a bit of a win-win for him. If Art won, great, they picked off somebody else. He looks like he did a great strategic move by putting Art in there. And if Art didn't win, okay, people are grumpy at him, but he's just got rid of his biggest competition in the whole game.
It was the best game move of the whole thing.
He was very good in his weird aggression in the aftermath when he's like, look at me and ask me if I did the, you know. It was kind of incredible. Like, it was like the Joker. Like, I was just like, I don't know what you're doing right now. But it's like,
it was crazy good TV, like the whole thing.
I think he was making a valid point because I do think that Angela is very clever with the way she uses her words, and she's just kind of like floating this idea. It's like, it could look like this. And he's like, what are you saying? If you're accusing me of something, just come out and say it, and I will lie to you. Okay?
Yeah. My plan is lie hard, lie often until you get bored and go away. That is my plan. Do you think that's a good plan?
look at me.
We've talked a lot about Art going home, but let's talk about the fact that Bryn is still there thanks to her amazing skills. She just looks so in control of that bloody rope pulley thing, didn't she? And then she stopped and had a really good think. And Art was just, he doesn't know what he was doing at all. I don't think it was just dumb luck. He got one ball out at all.
It's just a coincidence. I think that the thing is, like, Art against anyone else would probably have been close, but Bryn is just really, really good at puzzly games.
Yeah,
like,
but the fact that Richie turned at the last minute, knowing that it was a puzzly game, and putting Art against Bryn, it's very obvious what he was doing there. Like you say, there's plausible denial, but that's actually pretty hard to deny when it's an on-the-spot decision that didn't involve your team and just throws your Art out to the lions, you know?
I liked when they go, I love it. It's funny how everyone is so in love with Art and no one even tries to hide it. Like when Chisholm was like, Art, you've shown us you're a gentleman and one of the world's nicest men. Just like, it's so...
One of the world's nicest.
They're really over-egging it. Like, yeah, he's nice, but it's just like, he's hot. That's the main thing. Like, that's really what everyone's talking about. He's just as normal personality-wise as everybody else.
That's 100% right. I wrote down that quote as well. There's the one just before where it was just like, Art can do most things, which on some level is true, but clearly not puzzly games. Like everything around Art, he's got the most powerful reality distortion field. Like, I say this as a massive fan who hates the fact that Art is gone from the show and could watch him all day. Like, I feel it too. But it's undeniable that in his physical presence, especially day after day, men, women, anyone are just like, this thing, I just need to be close to this thing.
I think that there's a bigger conversation to be had about the advantages in the world you get as a really good-looking person. You know, I think we're all aware of it. You know, lots of sociological studies have been done on such a thing, but I think we need to create a movement for the ugly people of the world to get some equity, you know?
Ugly.
And I feel like once upon a time I might have been in one camp, but I'm rapidly moving to the other, and I need to put in some insurance work for the future.
So you wanted to have all of the advantages of being really babin when you were younger, and now that it slips away, you want the movement to come in and justice for the
I think
uglies.
I'm just beginning to understand, as an ugly myself, or soon to be, that the struggle. That no one's ever going to look at me the way that they look at Art.
That's incredible. I honestly do not know how to make this at all.
This reveal. To be clear, this is not a real pod campaign. This is a Jane Yee campaign.
I think there's people out there that would support me on this. That's all I'm saying. Okay. That's the end of our podcast. Thanks very much for listening. We'll be back next week. Can't wait to see what happens next. Repo are just dwindling in numbers. Cardspo are flying.
And there's Paradise. What is Paradise?
What's Paradise?
Where I'm bloody going tonight for a bloody curry.
That is our podcast. Thanks very much for listening. Don't forget to order yourself a I am a corny and I'm sorry badge, pin, whatever you call it, on our website, thespinoff.co.nz/shop.
Are you curious about how business can be better? I'm Simon Pound, and I host Business is Boring, a podcast where I cordial with some of the most interesting people in entrepreneurship, commerce, and making things happen. Tune in to Business is Boring every Tuesday, brought to you by the Spinoff Podcast Network in partnership with Spark Business Lab.
Do you find it hard staying optimistic with all the financial news in the media? I'm Bernard Hickey, and on my podcast, When the Facts Change, I'm here to help you navigate the ever-changing landscape of economics in Aotearoa. So join the conversation every Friday on When the Facts Change, brought to you by the Spinoff Podcast Network in partnership with KiwiBet.
The Spinoff Podcast Network.